Alexandra Levine welcomes you to the Alexandra Levine Live Podcast. Today, we've got a packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you well informed. Tonight's Alexandra Levine Live Podcast.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello. This is Alexandra Levine live with the America's Pulse Network. We are all in tonight with me, Alexandra Levine. Breaking news. President Trump visiting President Xi in China. Let's put up the image. And here it is. We saw the other night the president being welcomed by President Xi of China. The president has brought so many people from the White House and from the cabinet to this historic meeting. President Trump hasn't visited China since he was president in 2017. What is this meeting about? This meeting is about trade. This meeting is about the tariffs. This meeting is also about Taiwan. As you know, China is trying to take over Taiwan. But again, as you all know, Taiwan is a big ally to the United States, and we cannot let that happen. And of course, China is always trying to be the superpower. And a lot of people think that China and Russia are in tandem together. And we talked about that last night at the Pulse, or on the Pulse, excuse me. That's absolutely not true. It's about who will be the superpower. Is it going to be China or is it going to be Russia? My question to my audience is, who do you think is the bigger threat? Do you think China is the biggest threat to the United States, or do you think Iran is the biggest threat to the United States? Or do you think Russia is the biggest threat to the United States? That's something that we're going to talk about throughout the show tonight, especially in the first half. But of course, every time President Trump, invites any diplomat, dignitary, president, prime minister to America, he greets them with such grace and such beauty and presence. Now we see from the other side how President Xi greeted President Trump to his country by playing the national anthem. Let's hear the clip. Isn't that beautiful, everyone? Isn't that just amazing how our president was honored by President Xi with the playing of the national anthem? Now we go into segment one. So the name of the segment is, quote, Trump in China. Let's put up the first Truth Social from our great president, @Real Donald Trump. So @Real Donald Trump wrote, when President Xi very elegantly referred to the United States as perhaps being a declining nation, he was referring to the tremendous damage we suffered during the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And on that score, he was 100%. Our country suffered immeasurably with open borders, high taxes, transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, DEI, horrible trade deals, rampant crime, and so much more. President Xi was not referring to the incredible rise that the United States has displayed to the world during the 16 spectacular months of the Trump administration, which includes all-time high stock markets and 401ks, military victory and thriving relationship in Venezuela, the military decimation of Iran to be continued, strongest military on earth by far, economic powerhouse again, with a record $18 trillion being invested in the United States by others, best U.S. job market in history, with more people working in the United States right now than ever before, ending country-destroying DEI, and so many other things that it would be impossible to readily list. In fact, President Xi congratulated me on so many tremendous successes in such a short period of time. 2 years ago, we were in fact a nation in decline. On that, I fully agree with President Xi. But now the United States is the hottest nation anywhere in the world. And hopefully our relationship with China will be stronger and better than ever before. Now, the reason that President Trump wrote this is, of course, the mainstream media, they came out and said, well, President Xi, he said that there's tremendous damage, in the US right now, and the United States is terrible right now. But again, thank you, President Trump, for clarifying that to we the people. President Xi was not talking about President Trump. He was talking about Joe Biden. And everyone knows that President Xi would laugh at Joe Biden. We would come visit him. And he knew he was a joke. And that's why President Xi took a lot of advantage when Biden was in office. As you know, China was invading Americans and their farmland. China was, quote, owning American farmland, which is ridiculous. China was, of course, costing us a lot of money, throwing huge tariffs on us, not doing the trade agreements as they should be, being unfair. But I don't blame President Xi for this. I blame Biden, Kamala Harris, Blinken, Merrick Garland, all the idiots that were in the Biden administration. I blame Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, the guy was installed. We know this. We all know that the 2020 election was stolen, that President Trump was duly elected, and more reports are coming out. More reports are coming out that the 2020 election was stolen. That's why it's really important that we pass the Save America Act. John Thune, again, what the hell is the holdup? Who's paying you? We already know whose side you're on, but you obviously are being bought and paid for. President Trump, as you know, has done a lot of business in China throughout his years. One of his biggest clients is a Chinese guy that owns a Bank of America building in New York City, where President Trump has done tremendous deals and works with this big head honcho in China that owns the Bank of America building. So every time President Trump goes overseas, he's welcomed with grace. The leaders love him. The leaders do not take advantage of him. But again, the question goes that who will take over when President Trump leaves office? Is it going to be J.D. Vance? Is it going to be Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth? Are we going to find a way to keep President Trump for 4 more years, which Steve Bannon says that President Trump is entitled to a 3rd term based on the fact that the 2020 election was stolen? But that will only happen if the U.S. Supreme Court determines it. What do we do right now? I can tell you, if Democrats take over, if they take over the House of Representatives or the Senate, we're screwed. If they enter the White House and take over the presidency, we're double screwed. And China will just come in and invade like they did under Biden, and it will be much harder to get rid of them. President Trump is still cleaning up Joe Biden and Obama's mess, and he's been cleaning up even when he was president the first term. But it's very important, guys, it's very important that we see the writing on the wall here, that we see who is really in charge, who is the true leader, and who is the fake leader. For the first time in a long time, America's respected again. Every time Trump comes, America is respected again. So it is very important who takes over in 2028. There's even talks of my governor, Ron DeSantis, running for president again, which I believe is a dumb idea. I don't think that he did himself a good service when he decided to run for president in 2024. I think he really screwed himself for the future. He'd be a very good vice president, in my opinion. I think in my opinion, and I say in my opinion, that his destiny right now is not to be president. His destiny is either to be vice president or he's waiting for Rick Scott possibly to resign as a U.S. senator, and maybe he'll become the next Florida United States senator. I wouldn't be surprised, but I can tell you Ron isn't going anywhere after his term ends. I know that there's talks of having Ron in the Trump administration in some form. People are saying, they may pick him as attorney general. They may pick him as the next Supreme Court justice. I disagree, and I don't agree with any of those assumptions. I think people are just trying to throw straws or pick a straw and make an opinion and make some noise. Time will tell. But I can tell you that President Trump is doing a phenomenal job. And I personally love him more than ever before. I really support him now. And I really supported him in 2015. But my support and love for him has grown throughout these years, throughout this current presidency. And I can't wait to see what else is in store for our country. And I'm also starting to see people that were in love with President Trump in 2016, 2017, and now they vehemently hate him. They've turned on him. Their loyalty for him is not there. Marjorie Taylor Greene, we just found out that she bought a huge home in Costa Rica, and her fiance, who was working on Real America's Voice, who was a White House correspondent with me, he decided to let go of his White House press credentials and go hang out in Costa Rica with his fiance and plan their wedding. In my opinion, I think that is the dumbest thing, what he did. And coming up after the break, we're going to have a White House press correspondent with me. And I'm going to ask him, what do you think? Was this the wise thing to do? It's very hard to get White House press credentials. So for him to give that up for this woman who has ruined her reputation, who has turned on President Trump, and her fiance is actually a very good reporter, very fair and balanced, asked the right questions. He was the one that made buzz about talking to Zelensky and saying, why don't you wear a suit when you come to visit, the president? So he made some good liners there. But again, he had White House press credentials, which is really hard to get. And he decides to throw it all away for his fiance, who's a piece of trash. She's a huge piece of trash. She's a big adulteress. She cheated on her now ex-husband with multiple men while she was a congresswoman. And then she wasn't fully divorced. She was separated from her now ex-husband when she started dating her now fiance. I say to her now fiance, why are you doing this to yourself? I guess you don't care. I guess, she gives you something that your ex-wife couldn't give you. I don't know. But I find it very disgusting and disturbing that this guy is giving up everything, his reputation, his career, his White House credentials. And I'm going to say it for this slut, because she is a slut and a turncoat. And, if she was still in Congress today, she'd be screaming, why is President Trump again going overseas, working with our adversaries or our allies and not working with the American people? Well, again, I educate the American people. What happens overseas ends up creeping here. If things are bad abroad, it's not going to help us in the nation. And the United States of America, works with China with trade, tariffs, and so forth. Same thing with Israel. We do a lot of things with Israel. Each state has a trade agreement with Israel. So to say that President Trump is on America first because he's over in China shows you the ignorance of the woman, the ignorance of a congresswoman, and the ignorance of some of the American people that have jumped on her train. Let's go to the next slide. So at Real Donald Trump, so he tweeted this before he tweeted, or truthed, I'm sorry, the other slide that we said. He said CNBC, and again, this is the mainstream media, incorrectly reported that the great Jensen Huang, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, of Vidya, was not invited to the incredible gathering of the world's greatest businessmen/women proudly going to China. In actuality, Jensen is currently on Air Force One. And unless I ask him to leave, which is highly unlikely, CNBC's reporting is incorrect, or as they say in politics, fake news. It is an honor to have Jensen, Elon, Tim Apple, Larry Fink, Steven Schwartzman, Kelly Ortberg, who's with Boeing, Brian Sykes, who's with Cargill, Jane Fraser with Citi, Larry Culp with GE Aerospace, David Solomon of Goldman Sachs, Sanjay Malhotra from Micron, and sorry if I'm butchering these names, Cristiano Amon from Qualcomm, and many others journeying to the great country of China, where I'll be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to, quote, open up China so these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. In fact, I promise that when we are together, which will be in a matter of hours, I will make that my very first request. I've never seen or heard of any idea that would be more beneficial to our incredible countries. So President Trump is talking about these people that are billionaires working with President Xi. but also finding a way to buy American, hire American, which was one of President Trump's biggest campaign promises. And he has delivered on that campaign promise. He delivered on it in 2017, and he's delivering on it now. And again, President Trump's like, what's with the tariffs? Why do you have to tariff the crap out of us? Why are things being made in China when they can be made in America? I mean, Goldman Sachs is a huge company, so is Qualcomm. And again, why are we hiring these foreigners to do these jobs? We have very great, talented Americans, some of them that don't go to college, they go to vocational schools, and they become more successful than people that have a college degree. And then some of them are even smarter than people with college degrees or master's degrees, or even JDs and MDs and PhDs. And they go on to having great careers and making a crap load of money, because what they did is they honed in on an idea and they continued it and pursued it and pursued it. It's very important, guys, that we understand what the stakes are here. I'm sure they're discussing Russia and Ukraine. I'm sure they're discussing the Iranian war. And I'm sure they're discussing Taiwan. But President Xi, he plays ball when President Trump is around. Now, again, my question to my audience, how long is this love fest going to be? Is it just going to be for 2 years? And then when Trump is gone, we're just going to go back to how it was under Biden? Or are the Republicans going to step up, rise up, and make sure that we have someone very similar to President Trump taking over? And if President Trump can be the president for 4 more years, even better. I've also implemented on this show that, in my opinion, the only people that can really implement President Trump's agenda is his children. I know Donald Trump Jr. is looking for a position in the White House, maybe as president. Eric Trump was thinking about it too. They've talked about Barron Trump being president in 2044. Now, a lot of people are against legacies, but this is a different type of legacy. This is not a Bush or a Clinton dynasty legacy. This is a guy, President Trump, that was just a businessman, not a politician, that gave up his wonderful life to serve the American people. And he actually served the American people as a private citizen with his golf courses and his hotels and so forth, and helping people that were in need. His father was very good to the Jews and to the blacks back in the day, allowing Jews and blacks to go to Mar-a-Lago to participate, to be members. And also President Trump has helped a black woman who was homeless for many years in front of Trump Tower, and he offered her a room. She does not pay a dime. It's free room and board. He provides her a meal every single day and clothes. He doesn't ask for anything in return, just that she is well taken care of. That's a true fact. These are like real stories, and people that read about them, but the mainstream media, of course, doesn't want to put it out. That's why we are not the mainstream media. We are not the fake news. We are part of the new conservative media at the White House. And podcasters, especially this podcast and this network, are supportive of our president and supportive of his policies. And that's what's important. We have a seat at the table because we tell the facts. Now, I do have opinions, and I do say, in my opinion, when we do the show The Pulse, a lot of it is opinion-based. And Seth Eisenberg at the Conservative Corner, he'll say, this is my opinion. You can take it for what it is. You can agree or disagree with me, but I'm all about loyalty. And I see a lot of people online, my friends, especially in Maryland, that used to be hardcore Trump supporters and said they would ride and die for him. And now they're calling him garbage. They're saying he's protecting pedophiles. They're praising Marjorie Taylor Greene for sticking up to President Trump. And they're praising Tucker Carlson and Candace and all these people. And then you got a guy running for governor in Maryland. He ran in 2022 and got heavily pummeled by Wes Moore. And he's got children that are anti-Semites. They're spewing out hate against Zionists, calling us pedophiles and Satan. And I contacted the guy running, and I said, what's up with your kids? I'm like, I hope this is not their real profiles on Facebook. I did not get a response. I'm still waiting for a response months later. And I did post it on social media because I wanted a response. I wanted either an apology from him, an apology from his son, something, or just a conversation. So it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. And because this guy, his name is Dan, I'm not going to say his last name, because Dan has not acknowledged me, has not apologized for his son or his daughter's evil comments, I have advised Jewish Republicans in the state of Maryland to vote for one of his opponents, John Myrick and Brenda Cham, because those people are very supportive of Israel. Those people have children that would never, ever say anything anti-Semitic. And John Myrick, it was a military guy, gave his life to this country. His wife is a judge, smart lady, military as well. Brenda Cham is a teacher. Her husband came to this country legally, loves being an American, loves America. And those are the people that I want representing me in the state of Maryland. Not a guy named Dan, who is part of the alt-right Republicans of our party, and his children are anti-Semites and anti-Zionists. I will not stand with a person like that. I will not support a person like that. And to be honest with you, a lot of Dan's, quote, supporters are very out there. They act like they're in a cult. You can't say anything to them at all, because if you do, they criticize you or they block you. So I support John Myrick and Brenda Cham for governor and lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland. I endorse them wholeheartedly on my show. And I really am, I want to say to the Jewish Republicans in Maryland, please vote for John Myrick and Brenda Cham. Don't vote for this anti-Semite Dan and his anti-Semitic family. He will fool you. He'll say that he loves Israel and the Jews, but I see now his true colors and his children's true colors. They do not support Israel and the Jewish people like they say they do. And speaking of someone who's a real reporter, coming up after the break, we have my good friend, White House correspondent, Dr. Matthew Anthony Harper. He has done extensive work on combating anti-Semitism. He has interviewed some big names in the field. He's been in the White House for over 20 years, and he's going to talk about his experience there, what he is doing, his life's work. And I'm so excited that he is coming on our program. I'm with him at the White House, and it's great. It's great to have, again, somebody that supports Israel and the Jewish people at the White House with me. But he loves to talk about his support for Israel, and he wants, to push Caroline Levin and others to really talk about what they're doing to combat anti-Semitism, not only in the country, but all over the world. But don't forget, we have one of my sponsors, foliumpx.org. Please go to foliumpx.com, super antioxidant website, toxic heavy metals, full body detox. This is great if you're trying to get pregnant. This is great if you're expecting. This is great if you had a big Mother's Day meal and you want to kind of like detox from that. In the Jewish religion, we have a big holiday called Shavuot coming up next weekend, where we eat a lot of dairy. Dairy is not really that great for you. So this is a really good antioxidant to help detox all the dairy that you're going to be putting in your body next weekend. And we just want to make sure everybody is healthy. There's no seed oils in this. There's no synthetic dyes. This is what we say, RFK Jr. approved. I use it. I love it. And it has really helped my body a lot. And I've lost a lot of weight from it. People have been telling me, oh, you have like a nice glow to you. And a lot of it has to do with these antioxidants. So please, guys, go to foliumpx.com. That's the QR code. There is a discount, especially for 4th of July. 4th of July, there's going to be huge discounts. And Father's Day is coming up in June next month. So get these now before they run out. But please, guys, stay with us. We are currently live on Rumble, on True Social, on TikTok, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Rumble, on Substack, on Spotify. You name it, we're on it. Please follow us, like, and subscribe at America's Pulse Network. You can actually watch us live on our website at americaspulsenetwork.com. And we will be right back with my special guest after the break.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the America's Pulse Network. Oh, sorry. I was reading the what my producer was writing. Okay, he's back. Okay. Sorry. I got distracted for a second. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining the America's Pulse Network. I am your host tonight, Alexandra Levine. And tonight we have a very special guest. He is with me in the White House. He's a White House correspondent. His name is Matthew Anthony Harper. And he is a combating anti-Semitism extraordinaire. And I can tell you one of the biggest pet peeves he has is that, when he goes to the White House, he wants to ask a question in regards to Iran, in regards to combating anti-Semitism. And, the mainstream media, they get their own crazy questions in there. And then by the time he wants to ask a question, the press conference is already over. So he has been through multiple administrations as a White House correspondent. He has traveled all over the world, all over the country. He's done some great interviews with Netanyahu, and he just recently interviewed our new Israeli ambassador, Mike Huckabee. So without further ado, Dr. Matthew Anthony Harper.
Hello, Alexandra. It's great to join you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on. So, Dr. Harper, tell my audience just a little bit about your background for just a minute and how you got involved with being a part of the White House Press Corps.
Okay. Well, I had no idea that I was going to end up in the White House because my background as a musician and also with a doctorate degree in psychology. But I've cared about the plight of human rights issues for a long time, but it was miraculous how I end up there at the White House. There was a magazine called Israel, My Glory. And so I started reading this in the 1980 time or the early 1990s, and I saw the Israeli national anthem was advertised with a soundtrack to learn how to sing it. So I'm so used to singing with soundtracks, and I had to get this Israeli national anthem. Hatikva means the hope. And as I began to practice singing it in Hebrew, I became more bonded to Jewish people and Israel. And I had no idea that, say, 20 years later, almost, that I'd end up at the White House in this role, exposing anti-Semitism in the world. And actually, the first time I was there was 2011, and been bringing up issues of anti-Semitism almost since then. So
that's amazing. So tell my audience a little bit about your journey, just going through different administrations, different press secretaries. Going from when you were there 20 years ago, and even under the Biden years, and then currently now with Caroline Levitt. So just give like a little bit of like a short little time frame of that.
Well, as far as opportunities to ask specific questions leading up to my experience with Press Secretary Caroline Levitt in 2000 and I guess it was later in 2011 when I was able to be featured in another magazine article that was doing a story about UNRWA during the Obama time. So I was addressing UNRWA later in 2011. So the reporter was Fred Lucas. I remember very well. Used to be with the Daily Signal. Actually, also he was also with the Blaze of Glenn Beck's Blaze for a little while as well. So Fred Lucas was exposing UNRWA, and I got interested in this because an Israeli reporter was making me aware of the UNRWA problem about training children to hate Jews. So this reporter, David Bedin, is an UNRWA expert out of Israel, a journalist, and he was very excited when he learned that I was from Idaho. And Idaho is a state of prominent U.S. Senator James Risch, who was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee at the time, very powerful position, and who's been very active in combating anti-Semitism, exposing it. So I was able to bring up this concern with Senator Risch. It ended up being that I was able to ask Senator Risch to do an investigation into UNRWA. He wanted my permission to this issue to contact the General Accounting Office, and General Accounting Office went over doing an investigation, sending people over into Israel, and they found out that Israel was, that specifically UNRWA, I should say, was lying to the State Department about the misuse about how tax dollars are being spent. And the key question I was able to ask in the first week of the Trump administration press meetings was, what is President Trump's response to the misuse of US tax dollars going into UN agencies that are inciting kids to violence against the Jews? And what is the response to the Knesset members, Sharon Haskell, Dr. Elisa Levy, and Yehuda Glick? And because I mentioned their names, their phones were ringing off in the Hook in Jerusalem. My question was played on primetime television in Jerusalem the following day.
I remember that. And as we all know, UNRWA was responsible for October 7th. And of course, UNRWA lied and said, no, women weren't raped and women weren't, killed and tortured. And of course, we find out that that wasn't the truth. So yes, I thank you, Dr. Harper, because I know that you were the only one and the first reporter to really expose UNRWA and make that connection with October 7th. And I remember that 100%.
Well, I would say that there are some other reporters that had been talking about it, but
you took the initiative.
It was my destiny to be there at that first week of the Trump administration and to bring world attention to this matter. And being that key senator, James Risch of Idaho, is from my state, it was all, like I said, it was destined to be lining up for that very purpose. And that, of course, that led to my introduction to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. One of the Knesset members, Sharon Haskell, when I was there in her office one day in Jerusalem, I was asking her if she could introduce me to the Prime Minister. And she said, by the way, he's going to be here this afternoon meeting with journalists. You want to go? And so she got me into that press meeting, and she said, I will talk with him. And she asked me to wait until after this journalist meeting was over. And then I saw her leaning over, talking with him. And then she motioned for me to come over there. And then she introduced me to the Prime Minister. And I was able to share a greeting with him about, from evangelical Christians, how much we love Israel and that we're praying for him and all of Israel. And he smiled, and I've got a well-known picture because of that. It turned out to be a great picture. I think one of my favorite ones of all. But, there's much more to do regarding anti-Semitism. So much that needs to be to continue. My hope is that President Trump will call the nations that are still funding it to stop it. As I would like to see that as a precondition for U.S. support. That they would have to stop funding any forms of anti-Semitism.
Well, Dr. Harper, I want to ask this to you and emphasize this because, we're seeing in America today, big podcasters such as Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all these idiots, they say the word Zionism like it's a curse word, to be a Zionist, whether you're a Christian Zionist or just a Zionist in general, is a bad thing. And you also have a lot of people that are criticizing Netanyahu, and their argument is there's nothing wrong with criticizing the Israeli government. The issue with that is that they continue to criticize the Israeli government, which is pushing people to criticize Israel, which is pushing people to criticize the Jewish people that live in Israel. And then it tapers off to criticizing Jewish people that live here in America. What do you say? What can we do, you and I, as Jewish Americans? What can we do, or Christian Jewish Americans? What can we do to combat the Candace Owens and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Tucker Carlsons of the world? I mean, we're in the White House. They're not. They do have a lot more followers than we do, because they say things that are shock value. But how can we, as real journalists, how can we really get the message across to a lot of the people that are brainwashed, or that are, kind of like they're like on the fence. They don't know what to think. They think one thing and then they think another. How can we, as journalists, how can we push the correct narrative so that it supersedes, or it goes over what Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all these other idiots are saying about Israel and the Jewish people?
Well, what we're doing today is one way, but to get on some prominent network somehow, if I could be on Fox News to talk about this issue, or you could be to be able to get on larger platforms to talk about with some podcasters that are sympathetic to the Jewish people about what Jewish people have to deal with, all this hate and anti-Semitism, really Jew hatred, but. And along with that, I encourage people that want to make a difference. They can take advantage of the White House website. They can contact President Trump. They can contact their congressman. They can be, if there enough people were unified in this matter all together. Just so many people contacted the White House through that contact website or their congressman. It would make a huge difference. But the problem is not enough people are unified enough and don't feel like their voice can make a difference. But together, we can make a difference, and we just got to keep at it as journalists exposing this. We need courage to do this, not worrying about what people think about the matter. And I'm looking for myself really large platforms like Fox News. Or if I could be with Mark Levin or some other Aaron Mullen is a growing voice too in the podcast world from Australia. But we just need a lot more opportunities to talk about this, and we just keep at it and not give up. We encourage our friends to speak up about this matter, because if we don't, who's going to do it? And we've got to have courage and not back down on this matter. So I'm dedicated to that. And I want to do a book on combating anti-Semitism, and with several White House correspondents sharing their experiences with what they've gone through about exposing anti-Semitism. And it's not easy, as you know, Alexandra, being in the White House press room, we're surrounded by reporters that are anti-Israel. I've been surrounded by Arab reporters in the U.S. State Department that are so anti-Israel. One Arab woman reporter was very unhappy with me, questioning the Gaza death statistics. So I know this is influenced by Hamas. At the time, Hamas was inflating all these statistics, and I just brought up the question, questioning it all, and she was furious. And she was trying to tell me what kind of journalistic questions to be asking. And she had no right to tell me, as a journalist, try to impede on my freedom of the press issues.
Well, I mean, I was at CPAC this year in Dallas, and I was wearing a flag that had America on the top and the Israeli flag on the bottom, and they were holding hands. And I happened to be with a lot of the Iranians for Trump, because Reza Pahlavi, the former Iranian president, was there, and he spoke. He was kind of the frontliner. But there was these two Jewish journalists, because I was like, "You're Jewish," and they're like, "Yeah." And we were talking about October 7th, and they debunked that Jewish babies were beheaded. They're like, that wasn't true. That wasn't proven. I said, what are you talking about? The coroners literally gave documentary testimony about what they saw. They saw Israeli babies, they saw the autopsies of them. They were beheaded. They saw pregnant women that had their unborn child ripped out of their womb and beheaded. I mean, disgusting stuff. And I don't know about you, Dr. Harper, but my father and I unfortunately saw the 47-minute video of what Hamas did to our people on October 7th. I mean, it was riveting, and it was eye-opening, and it wasn't fake. It was real life stuff, what Hamas did to our people, or to the people, I should say, because it was Christians that were involved too, that were murdered. But it's really asinine to me that you have these crazy people that call themselves journalists, and they just, like you said, they're very anti-Israel. They're opinion-based. They're not fact-based. They don't want to face the fact that this actually happened, unless, God forbid, it happens to them. I feel like unless they see something tragic happening to them, then they're like, oh, it's believable. I want to switch to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, because I know, as White House press corps, we are eligible to go, and I was asked to go, and I couldn't because I was in another state. And I was actually skeptical to even go in the first place. I actually felt in my heart that maybe it wasn't good for President Trump to go. I know why he was going, but I was like, maybe this isn't good. And it was funny because I was just at the Washington Hilton, and it's not a secure hotel. It's a dump. And I don't blame President Trump for saying, why did we have it here? We could have had it in my brand new, beautiful ballroom, which is heavily secure. But my question to you is, after, the majority of the people in that ballroom were leftists, were liberals, 90% of them, and they're witnessing for the first time something that President Trump has been going through for 10 years, where people were trying to kill him. Do you think, in your opinion, that these mainstream media idiots that have spewed disgusting, heinous things about our president, do you think that for the first time they will wake up and maybe back off on the hateful rhetoric they say about our president now that they almost faced a terrorist attack? They could have been blown up in that room with the president. What say you?
Yes. I actually was very disturbed having it there, the same hotel where President Reagan was shot.
Correct.
And I think really not very smart having it there, because what did they do to make that hotel secure the day before or 2 days before?
Yeah, they
not
really
not
didn't.
enough. And you notice that security gate, whatever the people walk through, a scanning thing. I mean, they were working on that, and it should have been up, and there should have been a barrier, but he just runs right through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just so lacks, very unwise. But I say that more has to be done to have a secure location on that. And I wanted to briefly remind people that want us to ask questions on anti-Semitism at the White House, you can contact President Trump through the White House website and get a message to the press secretary. Please answer Alexandra's questions, Dr. Harper's questions when they're there. Take their questions that they have about Israel and combating anti-Semitism.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I can tell you for a fact that everything that has to do with Baltimore County and Baltimore City is because of myself, because I'm so entrenched in what's going on over there. Right now, currently, and this is kind of a side note, so there is a very historic landmark called Fort Howard in Baltimore County. And they had a VA hospital that was burnt in an arsenal fire many, many years ago. And none of the elected officials have done anything to replenish or rebuild that VA hospital. But what did the state legislators in Annapolis do? They decided to pass a law to put Section 8 housing at this landmark, not for low-income people. That's what they want you to believe. It's really to house illegals. And what I'm trying to do, and other elected officials and candidates that are running for office in Baltimore County, what we are doing now is we are literally writing President Trump. We wrote him today. We're going to write him every single day, and his team, to have the federal government step in here, because the federal government can override state law all the time. Federal overrides state, just like state overrides county. And what we need to is give back to our veterans. But in order for this to happen, the people of Fort Howard, Maryland, and the people of Baltimore County need to constantly write and email the president, like you said, every single day to get the word out, because we cannot allow our veterans to suffer like this. They're homeless. They shouldn't be in homeless shelters. They need to be in a place where they are taken care of. And also the VA hospital needs to be rebuilt, because Fort Howard is such a historic landmark. And one of the things that Congressman Maffume and Congressman Harris can do with President Trump is they can write a bill to make Fort Howard a part of Fort McHenry and Fort McKinley, to implement that it is a federally historic landmark, so that nobody on the state level can come in and put in Section 8 housing. Yes, will it screw the developers? Of course, but the developers don't care. They're just making money. They don't care about the people of Fort Howard. They don't care about this historic landmark. So I say that on a side note because President Trump has talked a lot about these forts and a lot about Baltimore County, and that's because of my reporting. But the people of Fort Howard had a huge town hall last night. Over 200 people, was sold out. And all the hands were raised that they want Fort Howard for the veterans. They do not want it for Section 8 housing. They do not want it for illegals, certain people of social stature, and criminals. A lot of criminals will end up there. Former convicted felons or convicted felons will end up there. We need to get back to our veterans, and I encourage everyone, like you said, to email President Trump. Oh, Dr. Harper, your camera went out for just a second. Hopefully we can bring him back. We have about 5 minutes. But I can tell you, Dr. Harper is such a wonderful person, such a nice person. Dr. Harper had the opportunity to join me in Montgomery County, Maryland, at the JCRC of Greater Washington in Rockville, Maryland. I did a huge event. It was sold out. This was December of 2023. So this was 2 months after October 7th. It was himself and other people from different parts of the country talking about combating anti-Semitism, but also, we'll talk about this in segment 3, implementing full Holocaust education in the entire state of Maryland. Right now, it's implemented in certain counties in Maryland, but they do not teach the full year. They teach a semester of it. So that is literally my life's work. My life's work is to implement full Holocaust education across the nation, K through 12. And of course, each grade will be taught the Holocaust in a different way. But also, we want to push our young people to go to and visit Holocaust museums in their area, especially the famous Holocaust Museum in DC, which I have called the Holocaust Museum in DC. They told me their calendar is open. They said, we don't have a lot of field trips planned for students. We encourage the students to come. That's on the school boards. That's on Governor Wes Moore. That's on the state legislators, making sure there's enough money so that these kids can go. And the thing is, they do have the money. They just want to put the money into something else like CRT and gender identity curriculum and things that do not help people in this future or in the future. When you go to college, there's no degree in transgenderism. There's no degree in CRT. There's a degree in modern history. There's a degree in ancient history. There you can get your master's or PhD in English lit and British lit in history. But I mean, it's very, very important that we understand who's controlling the power of the purse here. And it's disgusting. I mean, we have Holocaust survivors. We don't have that many, but we have Holocaust survivors that are willing to travel across the country and the world to tell their stories, which can be a very painful thing. And I have very good friends that are Holocaust survivors. My uncle's mother was a Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz. She survived Auschwitz in the sewers for 2 years with her mother. And she did not talk about it with my uncle and his oldest brother for many, many years until later in life, when she decided to do tours across the country and the world. She actually got a home in Warsaw, Poland, where Auschwitz is, to say F you. And I would say the last 10 to 15 years of her life, she talked about her experience in the Holocaust, which again is a very hard thing to do, to relive something so horrific, which probably haunts you for the rest of your life. I'm double checking with my producer if Dr. Anthony Harper is coming back. I think he had some technical difficulties. We will have him back, but please, guys, follow him. Hold on. This is terrible what I'm doing, but I need to do this because I want you guys to follow him on YouTube because he's awesome. Such a great man. Let's see. So please follow him. Visit his channel on @Intermountain Christian News 3658. That's @Intermountain Christian News 3658. After the podcast, I will put that up there. I want you to like and subscribe. You can watch all of his interviews, what he talks about. You can see him at the White House. Awesome guy. He's actually one of the reasons why I'm at the White House. So I'm very grateful to him and thankful to him for what he's doing. And he fights for the people. He fights to combat anti-Semitism every single day. Before we go, or before we leave this segment, I'm sorry, don't forget we have a second sponsor, rncstore.com/ALL. Richardson Nutritional Center. Get 10% off. Use the QR code ALL. If you don't type in ALL, that's the discount code. You don't get 10% off. And of course, the more you spend, the more you get off. I have sold these supplements to so many people. These supplements have proven to cure cancer, such as stage 4 cancer. If you've had cancer, if you're at stage 1, stage 2, if you've relapsed, or if you're recovering from any type of cancer. It specifically combats cancers, specifically helps detox your body, also helps with your immunity, also helps with your energy. And as you know, I'm an all-natural person. I am very big into what RFK Jr. HHS is doing with removing the seed oils and the synthetic oils and dyes. And as you know, I do segments here, and I have to do one soon on skincare and makeup, because as you know, and hair care as well, because I use hair care, skincare, makeup that is paraben-free, phthalate-free, vegan-friendly, gluten-free, animal cruelty-free, no synthetic colors or dyes, no seed oils, no dimethicones, no silicones. That actually, helps your skin, keeps you looking young and fresh. Again, if you're trying to get pregnant, I know a lot of girls, 30, 40, 50 years old, very hard to get pregnant because of the crap that they put in our makeup and in our skincare. It's everything. It's not just our food. But if you detox with these supplements, it will help you, and it will help your man too. So he's strong. It'll improve his testosterone level. So please, guys and girls, doesn't matter what age you are, go to rncstore.com/ALL, type in ALL, get the 10% off. Again, thank you so much to Dr. Anthony Harper. We will have him back on again. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but he is just a wealth of knowledge, and he is coming out with a book, and I'll be a part of it, talking about my White House experience, talking about what I've done to combat anti-Semitism. And he'll have a lot of famous bigwig White House correspondents that are going to be a part of the book as well. I just want to say a shout out to everyone that is making a comment, liking and subscribing. I do have a lot of people that are watching the show and not writing a comment, which is fine, but I know that you're watching. Again, we are seen nationwide and worldwide. We are currently live on YouTube, on X, on Rumble, True Social, TikTok, Spotify, Substack, Facebook, you name it. We're on like 15 different channels, and we appreciate that. And we appreciate, of course, our producer for putting us on all those channels. And we appreciate Restream for allowing us to be on those channels. But please, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe at America's Pulse Network, and we will be right back after the break.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up. Because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. But America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. The New Jersey State House Watch, hosted by Jack Brangan and Constance Detzel. APN's The Pulse, is moderated by either Alexandra, Damon, Elena, or Seth. Also tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X, Rumble, Truth Social, Parler, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Join the revolution, because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to the America's Pulse Network. I'm your host tonight, Alexandra Levine. You are with me and All In with Alexandra Levine Live. So this segment is very special to me. So I had the opportunity to go up to Pennsylvania. I was honored by State Senator Doug Mastriano, who's a personal friend of mine, who just recently got nominated by President Trump to be the ambassador to Slovakia. And I'm so happy for him. This is a beautiful opportunity. I hope he gets confirmed. I have full faith that he will get confirmed, and he will be serving our country well out in Bratislava. And we will miss him in the state Senate in Pennsylvania. And I know they're currently trying to find someone who can replace him. That's, just the same, that has the same views as him. And it has that conservative and supports Judeo-Christian values and so forth. I will be honest, it will be hard to fill his shoes in, because I've done extensive legislative work with this man for many years. I first came up to Pennsylvania, and he passed unanimously a resolution to stand with Israel. This was after October 7th. He was one of the first state legislators to actually take initiative on this. I took that resolution back, and I pushed the Republican Central Committees in Carroll County, Montgomery County, and Carroll County to pass, and Washington County to pass the resolution to stand and support Israel, which they did. I used Doug Mastriano's resolution as a model for them to use. I also wrote one for Baltimore County as well, and I wrote one for Baltimore City as well. Also, we passed a resolution to stand and support Israel by the MDGOP passed it at one of their big conventions that they had. So the entire Central Committee passed a resolution that is implemented for life with the MDGOP. And that's under Nicole Harris, who is Congressman Andy Harris's wife. And I'm so proud of that. And then, I had the opportunity to come back to Pennsylvania, a few months later, to work on a bill and to try to get a bill passed to implement full Holocaust education in the entire state of Pennsylvania. It is taught in Pennsylvania, but they put exceptions in there. They put, you can teach this, but you can't teach that. It's not fully mandated. My life's work, and I said this in segment 2, is to implement full mandation of the Holocaust in every single public school, K through 12, nationwide. It is only in 22 states enacted. In 22 states, that's it. Now, there are some states that teach the Holocaust, but they consider it an elective, meaning if you want to teach it, you can teach it. If the student wants to attend it, they can, but it's not mandated. And they don't even teach the whole thing. It's an abridged version. It's a BS version. And they put all this other crap in it. And also the teachers put a lot of political bias spin into the teaching of the Holocaust as well. What I'm noticing in some counties nationwide is that they're only teaching either part of the Holocaust or a little bit of it. And they're not showing videos or documentaries. They're not taking the kids to Holocaust museums, and they're not inviting Holocaust survivors. So this is also something that's a part of the bill in Pennsylvania, is that we have the resources to bring Holocaust survivors into the schools, to have the children watch documentaries, watch movies such as Schindler's List, The Boy with the Striped Pajamas, etc., and to read Holocaust books such as Elie Wiesel's Night and Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. These were books that I read in Florida. I thank the governor of Florida, the superintendents, the school board at the time when I was in the 7th or 8th grade, because we learned the Holocaust the whole entire year in the 7th grade and the whole entire year in the 8th grade. And I can tell you a personal story that I told to Doug and a panel when I was up in Pennsylvania. that when I was born and raised in Sarasota, Florida, everybody knows that there was hardly any Jews in Sarasota at the time. Jewish people were actually not allowed to own businesses at the time or conduct businesses in country clubs. My father had that problem for a long time when he first moved down to Florida in the late 70s. And it wasn't until the Holocaust was being taught in the 7th grade, the entire 7th grade. And my 7th grade teacher put some of the most graphic documentaries up on the TV that the kids and I were crying in the classroom. We all came together, we hugged each other, and the kids actually apologized to me for making fun of me for years for being Jewish. They said, "Oh my God, we're so sorry. We didn't know. We're so ignorant. We can't believe that this actually happened. Like, oh my God, this could actually happen to people, innocent human beings." And that was a beautiful moment. Now, the teacher didn't understand why we were all crying. The teacher was actually mad that we were crying. She considered it a disturbance in the classroom. But what she didn't understand is it's young people figuring out for themselves. But because they implemented full Holocaust education in the mid-90s, it made a difference. It made a huge difference. And my governor, Ron DeSantis, continues to push Holocaust education and has Holocaust survivors come into the classrooms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said earlier, the Holocaust Museum in DC is open to any student that wants to come, any school. They told me the appointments, the books are open. It's not full. But again, that has to do with the governors, that has to do with the mayors, whether they feel that this is an important issue. No, CRT and gender identity and transgenderism is an important issue. Showing graphic pictures of guys with guys and incestuous books and pictures of a father doing stuff to his daughter. That's what they're teaching in some public schools, especially in Maryland and different parts of the country, which is disgusting. Loudoun County also was pushing that crap. How does that help people in the long run? How does that help people in life? That transgenderism and gender identity surgery is more important than the Holocaust. That teaching sex to a 6-year-old is more important than teaching the Holocaust. Well, I thank people like Doug Mastriano and many others that have pushed this issue, that have not stopped and not wavered. And I hope to God that when he puts the bill through committee and he takes the vote again, that it will be a unanimous vote to change the way that the Holocaust is taught in schools. Now, a lot of parents are starting to homeschool their children because they don't like what's going on in public schools. But for people that can't afford to homeschool their children, this approach has to happen where we teach the history as it was with no political bias in the classroom. I can tell you, as someone who has done extensive work in Montgomery County, Maryland, there's too many teachers that are involved with CARE, which is it's a terrorist organization, anti-Semitic organization, obviously. It's created by Hezbollah and the Muslim Brotherhood. They are in our public schools, Montgomery County public schools, teaching propaganda to kids. Now, some of the teachers were suspended for a very brief moment, but now they're back in the classroom. I continue to advocate for those teachers to have their teaching licenses revoked. And if they weren't born in this country and they're living off a visa, their visas need to be revoked. And I wrote Secretary of State Marco Rubio about that. As you know, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he's implementing to remove people that have been on their visas here way too long and do not have America's best interest at heart and spew out death to Jews and death to America. And that's what CARE does. CARE is a terrorist organization. It needs to be deemed a terrorist organization, and the Muslim Brotherhood was, but CARE was formed by the Muslim Brotherhood. That's why they need to be defunded, deplatformed, removed out of this country. Their headquarters are right here in Washington, D.C. CARE was formed in 1994. Long time ago. Why are they still in this country? Why are they allowed to have pro-Hamas and pro-Palestinian teach-ins at libraries? I was very fortunate with parents to remove those pro-Palestinian teach-ins in libraries. It's been over a year and we haven't had one. Thank God. And this was going on in Howard County, Frederick County, and Montgomery County. Now, I ask everyone in this country, state legislators especially, to take on what Doug has taken on and not be afraid, and to teach your children proper history, because this is history that is, it literally repeated itself on October 7th. And you have idiots, and I said it in the second segment, like Candace Owens and Margaret Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson and freaking Alex Jones and big anti-Semites that have huge networks, and Nick Fuentes, that want to call out the Jews like they're horrible people, they don't want the war in Iran to end, that they want Netanyahu to fail, and they want President Trump to fail. But they don't understand the risks and what's at stake. President Trump has tapped into something that has been going on for 47 years. He's the only one that would touch it. He's the only one that will touch it. And Pete Hegseth is right behind him. And so is Marco Rubio. I said this on my show earlier, that Pete Hegseth is the most pro-Israel Secretary of State we've ever had in the history of our nation, or Secretary of War now, excuse me. And Marco Rubio is the most pro-Secretary, or most pro-Israel Secretary of State we've ever had in the history of our nation. And that's really important to note. That's why I support him a lot more than J.D. Vance and some of these other people in the Trump administration. Because I know the real people at the end of the day that will fight for the Jewish people, that will protect the Jewish people, but also work with our biggest ally, Israel. And I'm that type of voter. I'm not a one-issue voter, but when it comes to Israel, you darn right I'm going to vote for someone that gives a shit about Israel and will not throw them under the bus. But I'm so happy that I had the pleasure to go to Pennsylvania and speak and talk at a roundtable with 3 other wonderful people. One woman, Rhonda, who I've known for a long time. She knows my Jexit organization, and we'll put up the first image because she's in the first image with me. She spoke first, and she was there with her husband, and she has worked on the local level in Pennsylvania. She works with a lot of state legislators. She gets these bills passed, and she's been working with Doug for a long time, implementing Holocaust education. This is her life's work as well. And the woman sitting next to me is a beautiful Assyrian woman, and she's a Jewish Assyrian, actually, and she brought up the statistics of what's going on in Iran and how impactful the Islamic regime is, and how the Iranian people really need to take back their country. And she brought up the statistics of the deaths, the statistics with the deaths, and how many deaths have happened under the Islamic terrorist regime. Excuse me, I'm tired. It's terrible because I've been driving so much. Sorry, my brain is like, woof. But it's the truth. This is important to note. This woman is an Assyrian, escaped a tumultuous life to come to this country. And she's putting her life on the line by speaking against the Iranian Islamic regime. But we ask the Iranian people to take back your country. Reza Pahlavi wants to get it back in there. He's been talking to the Trump administration and Netanyahu. Netanyahu supports America. And he said it during CPAC that they're in transition right now to put him in. But they fully can't put him in unless the Iranian people wake the F up and step up and take back their country. Let's put up the next image. So the next image is showing me. So that was me speaking at the roundtable. So it was me, my friend Rhonda, my Assyrian friend, and one of our rabbis. He's a Messianic rabbi, and he's been at a lot of events with me as well. And, he talked about Judeo-Christian values. He talked about, Jesus and the love that the Christian people have for the Jews. I can tell you, the state senator, he's very Christian and he's very holy, which is what I love. And he always quotes scripture. But I've never met someone who is so pro-Jewish my entire life, someone who's not Jewish, so pro-Jewish and so pro-Israel. And Doug has sent me so many pictures of all of his travels. When he's traveled to Estonia, he's traveled all over the place. And he's going to be great in Bratislava because Bratislava is a very conservative country. We need a strong conservative, which is Doug. And unfortunately, now that Orban's out of power, I'm very concerned about the new prime minister that came in, Peter Mungar, because I don't like the things that he's saying. And I'm very concerned of the actions he'll take because Hungary and Bratislava had a very big alliance. And actually, before I went to Budapest, Marco Rubio was there 2 days before me. And then Marco Rubio went to Slovakia right after being in Budapest because they were talking about the alliance. And then Bratislava had an election and they elected a very conservative president. So it's going to be very interesting, the dynamic now between Bratislava and Hungary. And I believe that Doug can keep that relationship intact. I really do. I wholeheartedly have faith that he will keep that alliance strong, but also keep Bratislava as conservative as he can. And of course, Levine Consulting is my consulting firm. Let's go to the next image. That's a more serious look of me. But I got to speak for about 25 minutes. My speech was about 15, 20 minutes. And, I mostly talked about what I've done in Maryland. I talked about my life's work. I talked about, what we can do moving forward. And I also talked about, upcoming events and organizations that I'm involved with. Let's put the next image. That's another image of me speaking. So the photographer was great. I actually like my hair there. My hair looks good. I just had my hair done there. So I'm happy with my hair and my makeup. Let's go to the next slide. So this, of course, is very special. So what you see, and we'll show you the next slide. So I didn't know that this was happening. None of us did. It was a surprise. The state senator honored myself and the 3 other speakers with the Medal of Freedom from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the efforts that we have done in Pennsylvania. And let's go to the next image. So the next image shows, again, all of us at the panel. So Doug is right in the middle there with his chief of staff to the left, one of his directors who was an intern, and she got on his staff right away. And then the woman to the right does his legislative affairs. He's got a great team behind him. I mean, I know his team is going to miss him so much. I hope that his team goes with him to Bratislava. I hope he can hire the people on his team. Doug told me, he had a choice to choose between so many countries that he wanted to serve. And, he was thinking about going to Germany, but I think they had picked somebody else because he speaks German. But the reason he picked Bratislava is, he knows the history there. He loves it. It's very conservative there. And he gets to live in like this huge castle with a private chef. And he gets like a, door-to-door limousine service. It's literally like living like a king. I'm jealous, but I'm happy for him because he really deserves it. And I said to him, I will come visit you in Bratislava. I will make it my business to come visit you in Bratislava. And he's like, you're welcome anytime. So let's see the next image. So this is the actual medals. So one side of the medal says Pennsylvania Freedom Medal, renewed strength to the weary, Isaiah 40. And then the back of it says Senator Doug and his wife, Rebbe Mastriano. And Rebbe wasn't there, but she's a wonderful person, awesome woman, love her, very sweet woman, kind woman. They make such an amazing couple. They've been married for so long. They have wonderful children. And as you know, Doug served our nation. He's a military guy. And it's funny, Rebbe is actually, it can be, I guess the word is paraphrased as a Hebrew name, Rebecca, because Rebecca, of course, is one of our Jewish matriarchs. But Rebbe is kind of considered Hebraic, or people will think she's a rabbi. Rebbe this, Rebbe that. Rebbe in Yiddish is rabbi. Reb Tevye, it's Yiddish. Rabbi Tevye, even though it wasn't really a rabbi. But it was very humbling to be honored with this medal. Not a lot of people receive this medal. I can tell you that this medal was given to Prime Minister Netanyahu and Pete Hegseth. So I feel extremely honored to know that I have the same medal and I wear the same medal that Netanyahu and Pete Hegseth wear or received. And again, I had no idea that I was getting this. Me and the other 3 panelists, we had no idea we were getting this. And it's just been awesome to receive this medal, and awesome to know that Doug really cares about Israel and the Jewish people. And that's why, I'm going to miss him in the state Senate, but I know he's going to kick butt out in Bratislava. And I think there's another image. If not, I might have counted it wrong. No more images? Nope, I guess that was it. I don't know. For some reason, I thought there was another image. But again, it was an honor to be there. I really loved being there. I was there the whole day. I drove up there in the morning. I actually stayed overnight in Harrisburg because that's where we were in the State House. So I spent the night in Harrisburg at a hotel, and then I drove up there in the morning, and then I actually ended up going to DC that night because I was invited to the Chabad there. They have a huge Chabad in DC. So I stayed for Shabbat because, for those who don't know, I have become more observant in my Judaism. I go to Chabad now, which is a form of Orthodoxy. I am Shomer Shabbat, which means I don't drive on Shabbat. I don't work on Shabbat. And I celebrate all the holidays. I keep kosher inside and outside of my home. I go to only kosher restaurants. I will eat vegetarian outside if for some reason, there's no kosher restaurants near me under Jewish law. Even Orthodox people, they do eat sushi outside or vegetarian, which is fine because it's separated from meat and pork and all that other stuff. But I became more religious, this last year, just because of what's been going on around the world. And I'm grateful to Hashem and to God for being there for me and helping me through difficult times and through good times too. Very good times. And I'm not going to get emotional. Sorry, I'm a woman, hormones. But but I was very humbled to be honored by the state senator. And I hope that, if you have an inspiration to want to do something in life, do it. Don't let anybody stop you. As President Trump said, you must do what you love and love what you do. And I love what I do every single day. And something else that I love doing is consulting and working in politics. So before we go, we're going to give a list of candidates that I'm working for the 2026 cycle. We have primaries coming up very quickly. In Maryland, specifically, the mail-in ballots have already come in. But as I found out, according to state law, because every state is different, if you requested a mail-in ballot in the state of Maryland, you do not have to fill it out. You do not have to vote mail-in ballot or on the internet or whatever. As we know, mail-in ballots are a way to cheat. The USPS, they backdate the ballots as we saw. It is corrupt internal election personnel. It is better that you go in person and vote. Essentially we want everybody to vote on one day and vote on the day and paper ballots and all that stuff. But unfortunately, the Save America Act has not been passed. So, unfortunately, in the state of Maryland, you don't have to have photo ID to vote. So anybody can go in now and vote. They don't even really verify your address. It's a shame. If you don't have a photo ID, how do they know that you're you? It's just the whole thing is asinine to me. But anyway, mail-in ballots have come in, but I encourage people, do not fill them out. Go to early voting, which starts June 11th. It's a week, June 11th to June 18th. Excuse me. And we will send you where you need to go for early voting. I know where people need to go for Baltimore County, but if you need other counties, I will, you can contact me at Alexandra Levine on Facebook and I'll let you know. But please, for the love of God, go early vote, go to the polls. Don't wait till election day either, because that's how the Democrats and the rhinos will rig you. As you know, my friend Tim Fazenmaker will put it up now. He is kicking butt. He is running for the new Councilmatic District 9 in Baltimore County. Is a very hardcore MAGA America First district, but he's got a couple rhinos that are like running against him. And we can't have that. We cannot have a rhino in a hardcore America First district. And Tim put together an incredible event with our friend Dr. Frank Niehoff, and Kim Stansberry was there, and Billy Tioff, and a lot of great people were there. Our friend Dawn, a lot of great people were there. It was a very civilized event, and we got a lot done. And because of Tim, and we completely focused on Fort Howard, like I talked about in segment 2. A lot of people are writing to President Trump about helping with Fort Howard and making sure that it's a historic landmark and that it does not become a place for illegals and criminals, because that's what Westmore wants to do with Fort Howard. And it's, Westmore's supposed to be this military guy. You have like rhinos in the military, or that were in the military that want to make Fort Howard a place for Section 8 housing. So please, guys, go to timfazenmaker.com, give him a donation. You can always email him, tim@timfazenmaker.com, and ask how to write to the president. Tim has put together an entire template on how you should write the letter to President Trump, the contents that you need to put in it, and also the agenda that Tim, Frank, and constituents of Fort Howard want to do with that area. So if you want to keep Fort Howard and you want to save it and keep it for the veterans, contact Tim Fazenmaker on Facebook. Contact me, Alexandra Levine. We will direct you where to go to email the president and the team and the White House team. And of course, we have our really good friend Kim Stansberry running for Baltimore County Executive. She was also at that meeting. She is the only woman running. If she wins, she will be the first duly elected woman county executive. Her husband was a veteran. He served in Vietnam. He died of Agent Orange in 2022. Right after the primary in 2022, when she first ran for county executive. But she knows the role like no other. She will win the primary. It's the general where they're pushing the hardcore Democrat machine, Westmore, the DNC. They're pushing this guy, Julian Jones, who's a moron. And he believes in amnesty for illegals. And he could care less about combating anti-Semitism. He could care less about Fort Howard. He could care less about our veterans. We need Kim Stansberry in there because she gives a crap about our country and she knows what to do. She knows the law and she knows the role like no other. So please, guys, go to Kim Stansberry right here. Click on our QR code, donate to her today. And of course, we have our friend Daniel Eisenhardt, who's running for State Senate, District 6. He is primarying out the Rhino Republican. The Rhino Republican wasn't even at the meeting last night. The Rhino Republican lied to the people and said that there is nothing that the state can do. He lied and said that the county law overrides the state law, which is 100% a lie and not true. State overrides county and federal always overrides state. That's why the only way to fix Fort Howard is to have President Trump and the federal government on top of this. And I've been in contact with Pete Hegseth, Secretary of HUD, Doug Collins, who's the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs, and Doug Burkham, who's the Secretary of Interior, to fix this. Now, HUD doesn't want to get involved because HUD, they believe in Section 8 housing. That's what HUD does. That's what they're about. Getting the homeless people off the streets, putting them in a Section 8 housing, getting low-income people, in a house. So HUD doesn't want to get involved. But Pete Hegseth will get involved, and we've talked to veterans at the Pentagon. Doug Collins is looking into it, and Doug Burkham, he's now involved, and he's been writing us back, and his department is going to get more involved because, again, we need to preserve Fort Howard. It is for the veterans, no one else. And then we have my friend Sam Rosenblum, who's running for Frederick County Board of Education. If he gets in, he'll be the second Jewish elected Frederick County School Board. He'll push full Holocaust education. I'm actually working with State Senator Ben Kramer on this, and who's a Democrat, Jewish Democrat. So we can have a lot of bipartisan support here to implement full Holocaust education. His friend Cole Black, who's also Jewish, I helped and I worked with him to get him on the school board. So we got to get real conservatives and good people on the Frederick County Board of Education. Then we have our friend Jack Felton. He's running for county council at large in Frederick County, Maryland, District 2. He's been on my show. He's an awesome guy, smart guy. We'll have him back on. That's his QR code. Please, guys, donate to him. Don't forget my friend Julie Spivey Perry out in Virginia, running for Congress in District 10. As you know, the Virginia Supreme Court, they turned down the ridiculous redistricting map that we the people, I don't even think we the people voted for that. There was so much fraud in Fairfax County to get that passed. And Spanberger is known for fraud because she committed fraud when she became a congressman against Nick Freitas, who definitely won that district seat. But anyway, that's another story. So please donate to Julie Spivey Perry. Wonderful girl, America First girl, loves our military, loves the people, and they have an opportunity there to flip that seat back to Republican because the redistricting map was turned down. And then, of course, we have our good friend Justin Murphy running for U.S. Senate in New Jersey. Awesome guy. Oh, God, I want him to win the primary so bad. So smart. He has been on our show multiple times. He's been on the Pulse. Love him. Great guy. Knows the Constitution. He's a Reagan Republican. And he's just an awesome guy. And he's been campaigning with our good friend from the Jersey Shore, Damon Galdo, running for Congress in New Jersey's 1st District. Oh, he's already won the primary. We got to get him to the general. Damon Galdo is an awesome guy. He's a working class guy. He's got a gorgeous wife, 2 wonderful children. I mean, he's really taken one for the team here, but the team is backing him and they want him in, and we want him in too. So go and click on his QR code and give him a donation today. And there will be, of course, more candidates that I'm supporting as a political consultant throughout this period. But the primary in Maryland is very important. As I said, early mail-in ballots have already been sent to homes. Please don't fill them out. Please don't fill them out. Go in person June 11th and early vote. We want to make it too big to rig. I don't want the rhino. I don't want any rhinos to continue in Annapolis or to get in as a county councilman. You have a great guy, Tim Fazenbaker, who's done a lot for the people. He does it for the people. He doesn't do it for himself. He's not a self-serving man. He has been consistent on message for 10 years, pretty much. And I mean, I've been working with him for 6 years, and he's just a wonderful person with a wonderful wife who he's been married to for almost 20 years. And he's got 4 children. His eldest daughter, oh my God, got full scholarship to college. Smart girl. I think she's going to be valedictorian, or she's runner up to valedictorian. Smart girl. And that is a reflection of the parents. That is a reflection of the parents. They have the nuclear family. And Daniel Eisenhart, great family guy, wonderful wife, got great kids. And it's, you know, it's important. And Kim Stansbury, she's a mother and a grandmother, and her grandchildren love her. She's got 2 little granddaughters. They're adorable. And, you know, her daughter's moving into a brand new house. She's moving into a new house, which is amazing because she taught her children the American dream to succeed. And hopefully, God willing, her grandchildren will succeed, which I believe they will, because her daughter and husband and her daughter and son-in-law are very smart people. But thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. Don't forget, we have The Pulse every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. We have my show 2 Tuesdays of the month. It's usually, my show is the first and the third month, or the first and the third Tuesday, see, I'm tired, of the month. And then we have our brand new show with Jack Brangan and Constance Ditzel called the New Jersey State House. So they're on the 2nd to the 4th, sometimes the 5th Tuesday of the month. And then, of course, I'm on every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m., sometimes 9:30. It's funny, I said to my producer, I'm not going to go over tonight, but I did because I needed to wake up. But we will have Dr. Harper back on our show. Again, don't forget, the Jersey Shore is on every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Don't forget to donate to his campaign. Thanks, guys, again for joining our show. And the reason you listen and the reason you watch is you are no idiot.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Levine. I'm a professional opera singer, actress, TV, and radio personality. Since 2015, I've been a volunteer, a field director, and a campaign manager, learning the ins and outs of the political world. That's why I became a political consultant. My job is to lead you to victory with organization, structure, and the mindset of winning for your district or state. With my guidance and direction, I can keep you focused on the things that matter to the people and advise you on key issues that need to be addressed. If you're a serious candidate that is serious about winning, then book a consultation with me today. Go to levineconsulting.co. You'll be happy you did.
Alexandra, thanks you for watching tonight's Alexandra Levine live podcast. See you at the next packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you informed. So please click the subscribe button to get notified for upcoming episodes. If you like what the Alexandra talked about, then share the Alexandra Levine live podcast with others. Alexandra also looks forward to seeing you on the next upcoming episode.